What's up, everybody? It is strange times and we are quarantined to the house, but we are using this time effectively and efficiently to do something beautiful, inspire others to hopefully do something beautiful as well on this Sunday.
Don't you know it? Don't you know it? Don't you know it? Don't you know it? Sunday.
All right. And what we are going to do today, now that we have sorted out our outputs issue that we seem to be having the other day, we're going to officially try out the GGD P4 Matt Halpern pack. And this is available from the guys at Get Good Drums, who, I've got to be honest, they make, gotta be the best sounding sample drums, at least that I've heard, right? And I'm hopefully about to bless myself with some of the other guys from Abbey Road Drums. There's a whole collection of Abbey Road drums throughout the years. So it'll be good to sort of A/B those against some of these as well here in the near future. Maybe, we shall see. But I wanted to take this time today to really dig into these. I'm trying to record some more backing tracks for our song Stone Temple Pilots, Plush, actually. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up our transport window, do the same technique we did before, which is I'm going to turn off this guy, the conductor-y guy, turn that guy off, and then I'm going to click into tempo and all right, so 147. So let's go with 143, 142, something like that, right? So let's turn that guy back on and we're going to get our tempo sorted. 1, 4, 2. Front 1, 4, 2. And then we're going to take a look at this whole kit for a minute. Look at that, beautiful. Now, something that they tended to do with the drums in the 90s that I tend to like, you know what I mean? Everyone has their preference, but rock drums in particular, something they really tended to do is get a real tight sounding rhythm. So that's a real tight sounding, and while there's some, reverbs and other tones and stuff, so a really tight and really percussive, just full sounding kick and snare. But then they would add all this lovely kind of reverb and room tones into it, especially with the snare, to really give it a much larger sound. So we're going to play with this just for a second. Then we're going to notice this is kind of the default setting for how I want this to set up. You can actually use this control inside of GGD to set a custom way that you want it to sound. And it's badass. It's really, really cool. So what we're going to do is just get a little bit warmed up. All right. So listen to that kick. Very nice. Listen to that snare. So it's got some nice overtones, some nice room tones and stuff. And I actually want to dig into how those sound. So, look. There's the controls right there. And they're routed. I've already got this set up in my template that I set up last time. Remember that? I just wanted to come in here and create. Remember I told you guys that? That's what I came in here and did today. Boom. Came in here to create, right? That's what you want to do. Sort your template shit out, guys. That's what I highly recommend you do. Get them set up. Get your templates set up. Get all that nasty work out of the way. Be the setup guy, right? Do it for an hour or two. Trust me, it will serve you well. So I came in, everything's all set up. Everything's all routed out to the different channels. And I can control how much. This is just the snare, right? Here's the kick. Here's the snare. Here's the tom. Here's the cymbals. I can control how much of these overtones, how much of these overhead mics pick up the snare, and how much the room mics pick up the snare, and how much of that is added to the overall mix of the room channel, overhead channel, right? Novel shit. So if I want to turn up the room sound, which I do, right? It's a 90s song. So I want you to hear the before. This is the before sound. I'm going to jack up some of the room tones and stuff right now to make it sound a little more like Stone Temple Pilots, that sort of thing. You hear that? That's the sound of the mics back in the room recording the drums. Right? That sounds like STP to me. That sounds a little bit more like Stone Temple Pilots to me. So we might not mix that much of it in, but we're going to give it a little bit more overtones, a little bit more overheads, a little bit more room tones on the snare and the kick, actually, too. So it was about there. We're going to jack it up just a touch. Just a touch. Not much, but just a touch. What's this? Those are the overhead sounds. I like the overhead sounds a little bit more on the kick because it's a little bit more direct sounding, which is what I want. And notice there's no sub. This isn't Modern and Massive. If you want a sub in here, we're going to have to get that in. We might do that in an episode too one day, maybe, if we're lucky. Do an episode on just how to set up a sub channel on, say, Reactor. Something like that. We'll see. I don't know. All right, so minus my gnarly playing right now, we're getting a little bit closer to kind of how I want it to sound. Let me check levels in Pro Tools. That looks beautiful. Looks fucking beautiful. So let's check out the toms. Lots of rumble from the toms, which I don't remember there being too many toms in that song anyway, maybe a little bit. But cool. That's gonna sound all right. So there we have it, guys. There we fucking have it. And we mainly from here, if we want to say record this, I purposefully kind of leave the levels part to the very final thing. You actually set levels right before you record. And in my view, that's the best recording engineer tactic you can take. So I'm not actually going to template that. What you would do if you wanted to template your levels is get a good sound for the drums that you want to get and then change the actual levels going out of Kontakt. So these are the output levels in Kontakt itself. Right? And you change the overheads, the direct sounds for the kick, everything, snare, all of it. Change that to suit your needs inside of your DAW for a -19, -20 or so, average. But I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to record this directly to the audio channels just yet, so I don't need to set levels. Not really going to worry about that. If I'm not going into the red, which I'm not, it sounds nice. I'm not going to sweat it too much. I may put a touch of compression on it to just mimic the feel of a slightly more mixed sound. So one of my favorite compressors, let's just bust out the CLA2A. So that's actually not going to work because that's running on the KONTAKT channel. But I could send it over here to the drums channel. So do that instead. There we go. That's actually... So then hearing it maybe a little bit closer to how it might sound in a little bit more compressed environment, you can really gauge at this point how much of the room tones you then sort of want of the individual drums and really get into fine tuning this if as you want, you know. I may come down on, I may have gotten a little hasty on the room tones. But that sounds beautiful to me. Just a touchdown. And then, fuck that. Yeah, that sounds great. I'm not going to change it anymore. That sounds amazing. To me, anyway. All right. So we can record a little. Let's do a little bit of recording just to practice. I honestly need to practice this song a little bit more. So this recording is probably going to change, and that's what happened, right? You practice stuff, and then you get better, and you practice it and get it better. And I encourage you highly to do that. Just spend time with stuff a little bit. You know, especially if you need to spend the time practicing it and you're not really ready to record it, then don't commit yet. You know, work on it a little bit because there's something to really be said about capturing a better performance and doing it the old way, which the old way was to tape. You either got it right or you didn't. And if you didn't get it right, you had to do it again. So, you know, ask Metallica how much fun that was or shit like that, you know, the Beatles. That's how they had to do it. And so there's something to be said about recording in that way too, in my view, if you want to really get something right and want something to be cool. This backing track I'm going to play my guitar to, and so I do want it to be right. I do want it to sound cool. That's part of why I'm taking the time to really design how it sounds and also get the performance right. So without talking too much more about it and just getting into playing, the settings over here, you can get also to the cymbal mixer. I'm not going to fuck around with the mappings because I've actually got a bunch of tape on my keyboard mapping out where different sounds are. So I'm okay with the mappings. I'll leave them as is. But the actual sound of the overheads versus the room tones on all the various cymbals, you can control that as well. I decided to boost the room tones a touch and duck the overheads a touch on everything, on all the cymbals. That's kind of how I decided. I kind of like how that sounds. It sounds a little bit off, a little bit roomier, you know, a little bit less direct for the cymbals. A little bit more direct for the rhythm, a little bit less direct for the cymbals. All right, so notice I didn't even make any settings changes on here. You know what I mean? So we probably need to, yeah, at least start me up. What's that? You know? And just huge volume coming in. So probably doesn't need much more gain. And then peak reduction. LA2A, people. Go for about I kind of like how it sounds at about 5 to 7 peak reduction. All right, so come down a touch, just a touch on the volume, but we can go ahead and record our MIDI, hearing all of our MIDI through these broken down audio tracks, which are ready to record. I mean, it's like I can do this however I want, but the template, again, it's already set up, luckily, ready for me to go. So I'm gonna gear up and get ready to record some shit. Got our click ready. What's the volume on that light? All right, so I already know, need to come down on the tempo just a touch, just to get into the feel of it a little bit. So let's go to 140, and let's come up a tad in volume. All right, get ready to record. All right, I'm done for the. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to record a little bit more. I'm gonna go ahead and get this mic out of my way and lean into it a little bit more, and then we don't hear the sounds of me pounding on the board here as well. Here we go. Until next time.